am so excited today to come on here and share with you some really potent information. I'm going to be talking today about the current collective astrology, and I'm going to be sharing it from a little bit of a unique perspective. One of the things that I love is to see how dots and things sort of synchronize and come together. And some of those pieces are astrology, human design, and also galactic astrology. So while you may have heard a lot of people talking about the collective weather this week, that is really honestly building from now through August, I'm going to share with you a unique perspective that adds additional layers. So this is going to go beyond just the idea of, oh, this is, the full moon as it relates to your rising sign. This is going to be a rich topic that I feel prompted to share. Now, if you are pretty new to me, I just want to give a little bit of background. So I am certified as a galactic astrologer, a human design reader. I am an Akashic records reader and a galactic trance channeler and a channeler. So the information that I'm sharing is going to kind of pull into that. So I'm going to be sharing slides with lots of information, lots of things for you to consider, reflect on, that will help you understand what we are personally and collectively going through right now. So it's going to be meaty, and I have a feeling I might end up channeling along the way additional guidance. So I think the place that I want to start is usually while I love it, I don't always go into these deep dives on transits. And the reason why is often my perspective is I like to kind of just participate in life, to go through the motions, and I'm more apt to be the person to feel something and think, I wonder if there are any dots where it connects to astrology. And so then I'll kind of look at the horoscope or the collective weather, I like to call, when we're looking at transits as it relates to astrology, because I feel like that feels supportive for me. Now, last week on Friday, and this is something that I shared recently to my subscribers on my website, is I woke up. It was a normal day. I had an agenda, things I wanted to work on, and I just had this feeling that my guides had information for me to connect to, and I did. And when I did, they told me basically to look at the collective weather. They know that's not something I necessarily do. So they were like, look at it, look at it. The energy is intense right now, and it helps tell a story. And so I did. I sat down and I looked into it and researched it, and what appeared was very powerful. Now, when I was on the live recently with Beckett, one of the questions that was presented to me was, what is the galactic influence on sort of the astrology of what we're currently going through? And I love that question. And so thank you, Jennifer, for mentioning that. Was it Jennifer or Jessica? Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I'm horrible. I'm horrible at remembering things under pressure. And I'm a little nervous because I've never used this computer before. So anyways, thank you for the question. I've done some research on it, and I'm so excited to share more about what unfolded. So I'm going to share my screen, which will take me a minute because this is a new system and I'm not used to not having a mouse. So bear with me as I do. And I'm going to invite you, while I'm pulling this up, if you are watching this, to, if you can, take a moment and ground. And just breathe with me. There are so many steps. Okay, there we go. All right, so hopefully this is still recording and working. Um, okay, so I'm just going to keep going. All right. Now, this is where we're going to start. There are a few aspects in here that I notice patterns. And what I'm doing in this presentation is I'm going to kind of break them down to various themes. We're going to be talking about the astrology. So, for example, I'll just quick jump ahead to this slide. These are the aspects I'm going to be talking about today. Many of these placements, and as you can see, they're all kind of hugging in certain places, and we're going to talk about these now. But what I noticed when I looked at the pattern here, and I don't know why it keeps changing this. What I noticed with this is that there were certain themes, and so one of my gifts is kind of I love archetypal energy, so I was able to see this story unfolding, and I kind of want to share it with you. So the first piece I'm going to talk about is I'm calling this the disruption. And, this we can look at disruption. We can also look at it as like the friction for change or the thing that invites something to shift or adjust. And what made this particular aspect fascinating to me is it almost was like it was presenting a question underneath. And so, what I'm looking at for this is I'm looking at the conjunction of Uranus and Mars in Gemini. And I don't know why the bubble keeps disappearing, but that's okay. We're looking at this cluster right here. Okay. So as you can see, here we have Uranus at 3 degrees. We have Mars at 3 degrees. And this was also exciting. We have the asteroid Atlantis at 3 degrees as well, which we're going to talk about. So these are all sort of kind of clustered up right here. Now, as far as the galactic influence, we're going to talk a little bit about that as well. This is connected to the Perseus constellation. But so this is where we're going to focus our energy on first. So I'm going to read through this, and then I'm going to probably stop sharing my screen and share with you some additional thoughts with this. Okay. So what I want to do in these slides is break it down. So whether you are familiar with astrology or not, you can follow along. Okay, so this energy is Uranus, Mars conjunct Gemini. And what I shared is this is the most electric energy in the sky, is sparking sudden disruption and demanding we act from truth, not fear. And with this, I put the question is, which voice are you listening to, and which one are you becoming? Now, this is associated with, in human design, what is called gate 20. Now, you don't have to understand what human design is, but in general, what I want you to know is this is connected also to this part of human design is connected to the I Ching. And in it, depending on the placement of the where the sun or the planets are, they're activating within certain what's called gates in the I Ching. These are called hexagrams, and they each carry a specific type of energy that resembles different stages of consciousness evolving and our journey. So for this particular placement in Gemini, this is associated with gate 20. So this is the gate of the now and the invitation to act only from presence, not past pain or future anxiety. And the galactic influence here is coming connected to Perseus. And this is conjunct the Uranus and Mars. And also here we have Atlantis conjunct. So I'm going to touch on this briefly and then we'll talk more. So Perseus holds the threshold where fixed destiny gives way to free will. Atlantis points to advanced power once misused and lost, now resurfacing to be done differently. Okay. And let me go back. Oh, wait, I did it wrong. See, that's okay. Let me stop sharing this. Okay. Goodness. Okay, and here we go. You'll have to be patient with me on this. Okay, so let's talk. Let's just channel and talk about this for a moment. You might say, okay, what does this mean, Cassandra? Well, let me break it down. First off, the easiest way to understand this and anything in astrology is we kind of want to separate the pieces. So in Gemini, we're looking at, for one, this is associated with the twins. There's definitely a sense of polarity here, or different expression. This is also the open mind. This is curiosity. This is the intellect, how we communicate. This is jokes and banter and all these sort of like fun things, as well as that indecisiveness, a feeling of scattered, a feeling of agitation of what do I do with this? I can't decide, can equally be part of it. So it's fascinating to me to have such intense energies of Uranus and Mars adding to the mix. Uranus is the rebel. It is sudden, innovative change. It's electricity. We're currently already feeling this conjunction from now until the chart I'm pulling is based off of July 4th at 12 midnight, in case anybody's interested in. I'm in Florida. I just pulled it from Miami for a nice neutral sky to kind of base it off of. So it's now in its building. So you may be currently starting to feel either senses of your guides are coming in stronger, or a sense of I need to change something, or why there can be frantic energy. Okay, these are some of the Uranian qualities that could be felt through. Maybe your thoughts, your thinking are all over the place. Maybe it's harder to make decisions or decide. Maybe you're really excited for what's possible and the potential. Okay, these can be all sorts of expressions. Now, with Mars adding to the mix, Mars represents in astrology a drive. Yes, it's often depicted as war or the warrior, but essentially it is an energy that is ready to move forward. It's fire. It's ready for change. Now, it might not always be rational or clear when it, has these energies to want to move forward. And then it has Uranus kind of as its buddy on the next side. Yeah. Do the thing. So it creates this intensity that in Gemini can feel a little bit frantic. Okay, so this is why I called this energy the disruption. Now, what I found fascinating about this is underneath this tone, when we are looking at this from the lens of human design, or the I Ching, you could say, or gene keys, they're all associated with this concept of the gate 20, which is all about the now. What this energy is about, it's in human design connected to the throat chakra. It is also, which Gemini, that aligns, okay? It's also connected to the idea of the present moment, the now. The time, the energy is about looking at the time you're in, looking at the place you're in, and looking at it through presence, being open, speaking, engaging through openness. It's not in being obsessed with the past or too far into the future. It encourages you to be and speak on and share from a place of presence where you are. So with Gemini and with this energy, looking at Mars, looking at Uranus, I can't help but think of different voices, different tones. So possible ways you can bring this together, for example, is Uranus wants, can want change. It's the rebel. In the times we are now, where are you feeling frustrated? And you become the voice that is maybe meant to encourage people to rise up, to do, maybe you're the unusual opinion. Maybe you're the comment that, when aligned, is direct, that encourages change. Okay. Well, that's one voice. Mars, we can look at this as, okay, but are you coming from a place of aggression? Are you coming from a place of, feeling that sense of agitation that's being stirred up collectively, and you're just going to kind of come forth with it with intensity, and you're going to come forth with aggression and maybe not be received entirely in a way that's helpful, kind of like the person that comes and stirs trouble just to stir trouble, not necessarily for transformation, but for, an outlet to kind of get out the pent up aggression. Because I can tell you that these energies will want to stir you. The shadow of the 20 very much can be very, very fixated on anything but the present. It could dwell on the past. It can, try to force through to, future. The energies here are inviting us to slow down in a presence, which is ironic a little bit with these intense energies. So it's asking us to be in the middle of the chaos. It's asking us to be there and not be distracted or completely swallowed up by our past stories, not to want to rush forward to the future, but to really sit with and see the present moment. See it from a lens of where we are now. I also personally feel like this is inviting us to be able to step into that positive aspect of Gemini that can take the energy and look at it with an open mind instead of being dogmatic or closed. Okay. All right. Let's see. The next thing we're going to talk about is I'm calling the mental reframe. Okay, so this energy, we're looking at Mercury and retrograde in Cancer. So, with this theme, we're looking at the collective mind as being asked to slow down and let inner knowing lead instead of mental spinning. The question is, are you trying to think your way through, or are you trusting what you feel? Now, this energy where Mercury is in gate 62. This is the gate of detail and clarity, but the details only matter once we're grounded in the presence, which we just talked about first. The retrograde isn't a glitch. It's a built-in pause asking us to integrate before we explain, to feel before we figure it out, okay? And this is connected galactically to Procyon, and this carries innovative intelligence. Gifted Procyon is gifted at building what's next and supporting humanity's collective growth into new systems. This is the energy of conscious advancement, technology, spirit working together rather than apart. So here we have, you can see Mercury on the 24th when I pulled this chart, not 24th, sorry, July 4th, is at 25 degrees. Procyon is at 26 degrees. Okay. Now let's talk a little bit about these energies. So when we're talking about, the first thing I feel like I want to share is when we are talking about Mercury retrograde. A lot of times it can be looked at as, oh, this is, challenging or hard or a negative thing. Where really I tend to look at Mercury retrograde as an area where you're slowing down the energy and backtracking to kind of really be more intentional and mindful, whether that's slowing down in your life, whether it's slowing down to observe your thought patterns, what you're speaking, being clearer how you communicate. Mercury in retrograde is asking us to revisit or slow down in these themes. Okay, so when we're looking at the energy here, and when we're looking at the gate this is in, the thing is about this gate 62 is in its highest expression, it says that when you are grounded and you are aligned in where you're coming from, you can actually speak with clarity. You can move from clarity. There can be impact with what you're saying. But the difficulty is with this energy is that you can't get lost in the details. You can't get lost in all the things that can't get lost in the spiral, can't obsess over how do I communicate this, how do I express this. Those times in our lives where we get so caught up in the mind that we can't move forward. The project's never defined enough. The timing is never aligned enough. The information is never clear enough. We have to learn more or study more. You can be obsessed with the details coming together before you can choose to take action. So it's asking us to kind of try to slow down and to understand from a different place, to look from a different place. So this energy here, I'll bring it up again here. This energy is asking us to trust in and tune. Nope. Stop sharing that screen. This energy is asking us to tune in and to listen or trust into our intuition. Okay. This is in Cancer. So let's look at it again here in Cancer, okay? Cancer is the intuition. Cancer is the part of us it's associated with the moon. It's the intuitive knowing, okay? It has a slower, nurturing quality. So it's asking us to slow down, to pause, and to look deeper or trust deeper into our intuition, not within our mind, okay? The thing about this that is fascinating with this being connected to Procyon is that galactically speaking of this galactic race, they very much have a a love for science, technology. All of these sort of things are more their terrain, you could say. And but they're helping equally so in our evolution, in our evolving, in our changing, because it's a balance, right? We have to have not only the knowing that we're evolving and changing, but we also have to have the thoughts or the intuition or whatever the well, to some degree, yeah, higher mind to move forward, to be innovative, to come up with new solutions. It can be challenging when things are crumbling to see where we're going. So here we have so far this theme collectively where we're being asked to not get swallowed in the chaos, to not solve everything through spinning of the mind, but to slow down and to tune into our intuition, to look at our present moment, to see what these energies are trying to say or to communicate to us. Okay. The next theme I'm used to going so much faster, and I'm taking this as I was meant to do it on this computer because I was meant to ground and slow down. So I am neurodivergent. I don't like changes in my systems and ways of doing things. So this is really requiring me to ground myself and not try to rush forward and to be okay with new ways of operating and not feeling like I need to be perfect. So this is an experience. Okay, the next theme is I'm calling the active players. And now the active players with this, I decided to choose the sun and moon. Now, you can look at many different energies and say, well, this holds more weight or this, but at the end of the day, the sun and moon are our current weather. They're our current placements. And so this chart is again pulled on based on the July 4th. So it's when this conjunction comes together so well. And I just realized I forgot to touch on Atlantis, but I'll go back to that. Okay, so I'm going with the sun and the moon here. And so we have the sun in Cancer and the moon is in Pisces. And when I researched into this energy, this is kind of what it felt like. The father provokes you out of what's comfortable. The mother catches you when you fall into the unknown. Between them, there's no safe ledge, and that's the point. Now, in this particular instance, I know that in astrology, yes, typically the sun is associated with the father and the moon is the mother. And it just so happened to align, in my opinion, of these energies to a degree. So I stuck with that, but it is not as literal. But the reason I chose this is because based on the gates that these energies are in. So the sun is in gate 39. This is the gate of provocation. And the moon is in gate 55. Now, when we bring these together in short, and then I'll elaborate on it, it's the friction of gate 39 removes the ledge. So the provocation, the provoking energy of gate 39 is to bring back to spirit, to think beyond, the move beyond what it may be surface level. Okay. It is provoking. It's not meant to be subtle. It's meant to kind of provoke towards both sides of the pendulum, from, provoke for change and provoke for joy and provoke for happiness, to want to live your fullest self. But to do that, it kind of has that fatherly energy that says, I know what's best for you. I know where you're going, but it's I'm not gonna lie to you and say it's gonna be easy, or you're gonna have to do the work. These are some of that, whatever the masculine role would be. These are those frequencies. Where gate 55 is literally like freedom. It's vast, unlimited abundance, and um infinite possibility. It is very much an energy that feels like the void, and it's in Pisces, which also I view very much as the sort of like the collective pull channel between source consciousness and ourselves. Okay, so here we have this energy that is provoking to change, and the moon asking us to trust the surrender, trust the fall, trust the step to move forward, even when we don't know what's on the other side, even though we don't have the plan, like we talked about in Mercury, and even though it's a little chaotic, like we talked about with Uranus and Mars. Okay, so the galactic influences here is the sun is conjunct Sirius A, and then the moon is opposite Hydra. And Sirius A is associated with, I would say, the highest sense of knowing, ascended masters. It's the mergence of the yin and the yang. It's associated with Christ consciousness, all of these higher expressions. So Sirius A knows what's possible. It's that part of the, you could say, the deeper knowing. And I say connected to the ascended masters, the part of you that already knows. Hydra is on the opposite side. Hydra constellation is often connected with the divine feminine. It is connected to topics like shadow work or alchemy, when we're looking at parts of ourselves that we're navigating or moving through to kind of get to evolve or to be, or to also it's connected to a lot of occult or magic, or these types of topics. So here we have in this, Hydra says surrender may not be comfortable, but it's the only way through. You're asked to trust the deeper intuitive part of you and the divine part that knows even when the mind doesn't. Okay, so here we're looking at the moon's placement, and we're looking at, which is in Aquarius. Did I say it? No, Pisces. It's right on the edge there. And then we have Cancer next to Sirius here. And so these energies very much have the essence of feeling like it's time to grow, right? That's part of, if we're looking at mother, father energy, it's time to grow. It's time to stretch. It's time to move to the next level, to, and the bird doesn't always want to like jump out of the nest. It's like, oh, it's a long way down and I can't see where I'm landing. So let's not. But the energy is provoking change. It's provoking to evolve closer to spirit, closer to where we want to be, where we want to grow. And here we have the moon in Pisces is very much like the depth of surrender, to say there are infinite possibilities to abundance, to fulfillment, to freedom, to joy, infinite possibilities. But where in our energy, where in our experiences have we limited ourselves through our mind? A lot of this is looking at what our mind says, what stories we're telling ourselves. Okay. So it's asking us to know that we're changing, know that it's time to change. There's a little bit of prodding there to slow down, to observe, to understand how we're reading our current environment. Maybe you are listening to this and you feel very chaotic, but what if you were to step outside, to step into that 20 energy, to be present in that moment? How much of that chaos is right there with you in that moment? How much of it can you surrender and let go and trust in something that is there to help you, guide you? Okay. I'm hoping as I'm doing this, maybe you're seeing how these are equally all so interwoven together. All right. So let's look at the next energy. All right. Let's see here if I can maybe use this to scroll down. Ah, yay. There it works. Let me see. I got mental, players, tension. Okay. All right. So this is the next pattern that I wanted to look at. I wanted to look at, especially when we're talking about so much change that everybody is talking about, whether it's through astrology, human design, gene keys, just in general, um, all sorts of people are talking about where we are collectively and that we are changing. So I felt inclined in noticing these patterns to talk about the tension points here, which the tension points I'm talking about are Pluto and Aquarius, and we're going to look at Chiron and Taurus. Now, I'm going to add that part of the reason why I added Chiron into this mix is because when I had the intuitive connection with my guides, they said specifically to talk about Chiron, because Chiron in Taurus essentially is helping us in manifesting the reality we want to experience, but it's also helping us in dismantling what is no longer serving. It is helping us look at those collective wounds, because we have the wounded hero here in Chiron's themes. So Taurus is kind of looking at, especially as it relates to in the most simplistic form, where Taurus, manifestation, home, it normally in astrology rules the second house. So it's like the things you value, the things that are you find important, so it's looking at where that has been off kilter or out of balance. Okay, so the tension points are Pluto holds personal power. It says hold the dream, but release the force and the need to control how it unfolds. Chiron carries the wound of past attempts that didn't land. The question we want to kind of sit with and look at is, can you keep dreaming the new even without knowing how it will unfold? Okay. Now, when we look at where these energies are, we have Pluto is in gate 41 and Chiron is in gate 3. And I'll elaborate on these, but generally speaking, gate 41 is the stretch towards something not yet experienced, the felt sense of a new possibility before there's any proof it's real. And gate 3 says the beginning is allowed to be chaotic. That's simply what beginnings are. Now, okay, the slide is incorrect on the galactic influences there. Okay, well, let me just look really quick and see. Okay, yep. All right, okay. So this was meant to be Andromeda and Altair. So I don't know where I stuck that. I forgot to carry it over. That's okay. I can share that still. Okay. All right. Darn, because I wrote something good in my slide notes. Okay. All right. So the tangent points here again. Gate 41, Pluto. Gate 3, Chiron. All right. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and we're going to talk about this a little bit more. Goodness gracious, all these steps. Part of this is I don't use laptops. So I'm used to a mouse and I don't have one. Okay. All right, so let's break these energies down. Starting with Pluto. Generally speaking, Pluto and Aquarius, I think that fairly is self-explanatory. Okay, not even going to try. Let me gently kind of describe it. So Aquarius is also ruled, one of its rulers is Uranus and another is Saturn. So very much and time to change, innovative, don't fit in the box, because we have to have that, right? To change. Like there comes to a point you have to be the guy that's like, oh, I'm creating electricity, and people are like, okay, you do that. You have to have that innovative energy that goes against and Saturn says yes, because it's time for a change. Okay, so generally speaking, Pluto is very much associated with personal power, but it's also death, rebirth, transformation. It's the things that kind of pull us forward to our highest good, our highest essence. It wants to be, it wants to have that, embodiment of essence, of power. And so with it in Aquarius, it's essentially time for change, right? Simple enough. Where when we look at Chiron, it's the wounded healer. So here it is where we have challenge and where we grow, which I spoke already on. So now let's look at it from the perspective of the gates of these energies. Okay, so Pluto is in gate 41. So what this energy is it's fascinating, because while the I Ching associates it with, I believe they call it either decrease or limitation, something like that. Essentially, it does have an energy. I think it's decrease. It does have an energy in which that I look at this way. It's one of the most creative gates in human design. And the reason why is I look at it as it is the creative solution. It's the looking at where it feels like the road is blocked and we can't find a way through, but someone comes through with ideas, possibilities, what could be solutions, comes through, and it helps create a creative way forward. It helps know how to work around what may otherwise be restrictive. Okay. Now, the challenge with this energy is it also has a lot of expectations. There's ideas in which, or expectations that it applies, that it's like, I have this idea, I want this to work this way. But with this can be frustration, because we can get so caught up in getting, trying to come up with the plan, the strategy, that we don't leave room for breathing. We don't leave room for things to unfold. We're gripping too hard. Okay, so there's a balance in this, in holding the dream, also not getting lost in the dream. That's another aspect, as it's connected to expectations. This energy also can dream of the future, but then get caught there. And then in getting caught there, they are disappointed of what their present is, or they escape into fantasy and don't want to be present in what actually is taking place. So Pluto is saying, hold the dream. Yes, there are creative solutions. Dream of that future, but give space. Give space for it to unfold. Give space for it to flow, and understand you're co-creating. Taurus and Chiron says it's difficult in the beginning. In the I Ching, this is difficulty in the beginning. It says, okay, the 41 says to the 3, I have this dream of the future. Can you help? And the 3 says, yes, I see the potential. I think there are ways through. But it also has to not get lost in the chaos, in the confusion of being in the beginning, being the one that is inventing and coming up with that energy before there's necessarily structures or clarity on what it's going to look like or how it's going to unfold. Okay. So when I'm looking at this is more energy that's saying it's time. It's time to change, but you have to remember that piece where you're in co-creation. And you have to look at how you're using that, how you are co-creating, like the things we talked of. Where is your mind? What are your thought process? Are you dreaming of the future? Are you escaping to the future? Are you avoiding the future? Are you allowing things to unfold? Are you saying, okay, it's a little crazy right now, but that's okay, because I know I'm going to get through it. And I know I'm not alone. Again, that moon energy. I know that I'm working with some other collective higher power. I know that I'm working with a spiritual essence that's helping me on this journey. It's allowing that process to naturally unfold without having all the mental energy that is trying to solve or fix it. Okay? All right. And then lastly, we have the blessing. And this I'm looking at as Jupiter. And Jupiter is and has, I think it has just recently or about to move into Leo. And so now we're starting at 0 degrees of this energy and a new sign. And so let's go through my notes here in this pattern and what I notice. So Jupiter blesses authentic presence, not performance, not having it all figured out, just the willingness to be seen, sharing what's true for you. Come out of the spiritual closet, embody. The question, what would it feel like to be seen without hiding? Now, Jupiter in human design is in gate 56. This is the natural storyteller here to inspire, not through having the answers, but through being honest about the experience of being human. What moves people isn't the polished version, it's the real one. Speak from inside the unfolding rather than from the other side. And I can't wait to elaborate on that. And then when we're looking at the galactic influence, I choose to focus on Lyra being opposite these energies. Now, I might dwell on this a little bit later as well. But generally speaking, this is what I put down. Lyra represents the pioneering spirit of our early galactic history. Okay, so Lyrans, it's to believe by many that this was the first physical incarnation. They represented or had a lot of that divine masculine first energy, that spark, that pioneering, the creative, the let's go explore the galaxy, let's establish and colonize, and all of these things that can be associated with a confident, excited, enthusiastic, masculine like expression was the Lyran's original, some of the first expressions until it split into the more of a feminine and masculine expression. Okay, so going back to this, so Lyra represents a pioneering spirit of our early galactic history, the drive to start, to create, to build something lasting. Lyra currently sits at gate 60. Now, I felt inclined to look at this, and it's so hard not to get distracted. Let me keep going. The gate of this gate is all about evolving beyond once comfortable structures, asking humanity to step inside its next phase. This is Jupiter's territory, an invitation to honor the lessons of what came before without clinging and without fear, and to move forward into the unknown with confidence. Okay, so there's a lot of different things here. I'm just quickly getting a snapshot of trying to figure out all the layers of where I want to go with this. Okay, so the first thing is, I'm going to stop sharing. What this was feeling like to me very much had an energy of, I call it the blessing, because I think that it has many layers. Because I think what in part wants to be realized once again is connection. It's connecting with your neighbor, connecting with a friend, holding space, not telling, not instructing, not teaching, not mentoring, but connecting. And this is why I think it's important. Generally speaking, Jupiter in Leo. Leo is the heart. Leo also has an aspect that wants to be seen. And what it feels to me is that as we're looking at all of these energies, what at the end of the day, where we are collectively going is an embodiment of the fullest aspect of who we are without all the doors. In my live I did with Beckett, I talked about, can we be spiritual, and not as a spiritual, but as this is just me, and show up in that way with your family, with your friends, with your neighbor, and your work? Or how many ways do you still attach? And I'll be honest with you, some of us will even put it under blankets of beliefs we've developed, like, well, they're just not on the same spiritual level as we. They're just not awakened. They don't get it. And there's a divide. Or, well, I can't show up and say that thing or be that thing at Thanksgiving dinner because they'll think I'm crazy. So my family, we just, they don't need to see that aspect of me. Door, closet, all of the different ways. And I'm not saying you have to go out and be like, hello, I trans channel aliens, but you need to at least be comfortable to understand everything that you are in this moment, everything your energy is, everything that lights you up, everything that brings you joy. It's okay to be embodying that regardless. Now, that doesn't mean force it on people. That doesn't mean go for shock and awe necessarily. But we are still creating such divide. And I feel like where we are collectively going is we can be all of the magic and all of the human, all in one experience, and that is okay. Well, to do that, that means the individuals that are having magical experiences, the individuals that are going through challenging times, but they understand there's a reason, there's something your soul's experiencing in it. They're not there yet, but they know. They know in that mess, they have an idea, and they can talk about it and say, I'll be honest, I'm going through, whatever it is. Maybe it's I'm going through some interesting financial times. And your neighbor says, oh my gosh, thank you for being so vulnerable and open with me. I'm going through some peculiar financial situations. What? And now you have two people that have come together, connected. I've had mystical experiences, things that I'll say to myself, well, that I can't talk about that. People will think I'm crazy. But as I talk about it, someone says, what? Oh my gosh. Let me tell you this thing that happened to me. Connection came together. And the reason why I think this is deeper is because there's a concept of the one eye, the collective consciousness, the idea that when we show up authentically, when we experience and when we share, that the whole benefits from that. And it's not hierarchy. It's not a matter of let me teach you because I've got it all figured out. It's shared experiences and authentic presence. What do we talk about at the beginning of this? Presence being a big part of it. Okay. So I feel like wherever you are in your life right now, whatever you're going through, when you stop attaching the stories, mental, and you start being present, and you stop judging, and you stop fixating on the chaos, and you start saying, I'm evolving and growing. I'm moving and changing. That as you allow that, and we come together authentically in our stories, in our sharing, in our presence, that we all benefit and move forward because of it. Let me focus a little bit on the gates of this. So Jupiter is in 56, okay? This is the gate of stimulation. It has many different expressions. One is be the person that has the experiences, live the life, do the things. And then as it's connected to the throat chakra, you want to share it. You want to talk about it. And then all of a sudden the person's like, oh my gosh, that's so exciting. I want to experience that too. And there's stimulation and enthusiasm. And well, I mean, I guess if you look at Manifestation 101, that's a good energy to be in, and, to move forward into the things you want. So Jupiter is saying, yes, yes, yes. Leo, yes, yes, yes. Share the things, be the things. Don't be in the mind. Don't feel like you have to have it all figured out. It's okay. And the other thing that's fascinating on the other end, it being connected to Lyra. Lyra is connected to our beginnings, but the awesome part about this and why I wanted to share the gate Lyra is in is 60 is because the energy of this gate has always fascinated me because probably I tend to cling to structures, hence the difficulty in navigating through a new, working on, Beckett, my partner's computer today, because Mercury retrograde and mine keeps acting weird. So it's forcing me to slow down, to not have to be perfect, to change, to grow. Okay. New things. All right. The energy of the 60, I love it because what it is it has this desire for there to be structures and systems. And hello, can I relate to that? But the beauty of it is the full journey is understanding that you can have the structures, but you're not meant to cling so tightly to them, that we are ever evolving and growing. And at some point, what's comfortable, what feels safe, what feels familiar is holding us back. And we are meant to grow, to move, to expand, to try the new computer. And in that, we have forward motion. In that, we're changing, okay? And then we'll find new ways. We'll find new ways of doing things. That Procyon energy. We'll find new ways that are like coming together and helping us to evolve new systems or new ways of doing things. But we have to allow that process and not grip it so tightly, not be stuck, not be stagnant. Okay. This energy in Jupiter, also Jupiter is expansion. Leo is courage to move forward. So if I break this down collectively, what we're going through is the now. How are we handling the now? What are the stories? What has to go? What needs to be shed? What is holding you back? Okay. The other thing interesting about this, I said I'd revisit, is Atlantis is literally at 3 degrees, which is like, oh, so beautiful. Like, I love when things line up so perfectly. It's perfectly aligned in this energy. And it's interesting because we can look at this many different ways. One way is that Uranus is disrupting the system, changing, evolving, growing. We're looking at the polarity through Gemini of that. We can also look at it as Atlantis's story. And you could look at it as, that you could say the higher aspects are influencing us. If you want to be comical in spirit of Gemini, you could say they've popped some popcorn and watching the show unfold. It's like, hey, we've been there. Let's see how this goes. It's like they took a front row seat, which I find entertaining. So the first energy, the disruption, is what is it disrupting to cause observation to the stories, to the patterns, to what we want, to how we want to change. Where are we going with this? Are we, I'm going to keep going, but at the end, I'm going to share one closing thought. The next is the mental thread. Slow down. to understand that you can have clarity, you can speak clearly, you can get there, but be grounded. You know, it might not be 100% solvable with the mind. You have to tune in a little bit to that intuition. Okay. So then we have our key players, the sun and the moon, provoking for change. Fall in, surrender to trusting you're in co creation. Where we're going is magical, unlimited possibilities, but you have to open up and allow that. Okay. You have to be willing to kind of look at that, play with that energy, the tension. It's not easy, but you don't stop there. You know, it's innovative, it's different, and we're not going to know the answers, but hold the dream. Have the dream. What is your dream? What sort of thriving abundant life are you dreaming of? What sort of relationships do you want to have? Friendships, the people around you. And then we have, how are you showing up in that? How are you showing up in life? Are you still trying to fit the status quo? Are you still hiding? Are you still editing or altering? Are you trying to be perfect? Well, maybe the collective is benefiting from authenticity, from the stories, from your experiences. Show up. It might just be the thing that stimulates change. Okay? And then we can change, we can move forward, we can evolve, we can grow. All right. And the last thing, oh, thanks, Jose. I'll tell Becca you said hi. The last thing I want to add is, and I don't like to go to the fear state, but pretty much every channeler, astrologer, everybody has addressed what this astrology equals to the intensity of what is being collectively felt. So if you are experiencing in your life and other connections, what will I hate to even say this as the unawakened or the unaware, but for the lack of a better example, just to kind of drive this home, what will the collective feel in that regards that may not be as aware? It feels like frantic energy that you have no outlet and not sure where to put it. It feels like frustration, intolerance, and it feels like aggression that isn't exactly sure who to point it at, which is causing more division. In Gemini's energy, when it is in shadow, not at its best, it can be very closed off. It's my way or no way. There is an energy here that suggests that we can spiral in the mind. You may get caught up in your life or those around you trying to fixate either on the problem or how to fix it mentally. And the energy summary goes back to the very first key point I said, and that is the presence. That is the answer. There has to be a level, if we're doing things differently, we have to let go of the forceful mental ways that we created systems and structures and have operated up until whatever you want to say. This whole theme from different angles is saying, look at the stories you're telling yourself, understand and what you want to experience, have a dream, and understand you're in co-creation with it. Understand that some of the systems haven't served you, and that's changing and falling, but you can't get caught in the chaos, and you can't feel defeated by the change. You have to be, again, the tension point, Pluto and Chiron. You have to be willing to move through the uncomfortable part and still hold the vision while being present. Okay. All right. So that is all. That is everything that came forward. And I hope that if you're watching this, that maybe a piece stuck out for you in the process. Oh, one thing I have to go back and revisit. I want to talk for a minute about Altair and Andromeda, because I messed my notes up on that one. So I want to believe that they are connected to the, let me go look at the chart here. Share screen, because this is important, especially because also in a live I recently did with Beckett, I talked about Andromeda does have a significant part in what is unfolding. All right, so let me just look at this one and find out where they are. Okay, so yes, it is the tension point. So it's connected to Pluto and Chiron. Let me see. Did I write it? Okay, I did write it correctly. I just put the wrong title. Okay. So Altair is conjunct to Chiron. This carries the courage to act even without certainty, the willingness to begin before every answer is known. Andromeda holds the adaptability. Actually, no, I have that wrong. I have that backwards. It is Andromeda connected to Chiron. Yeah. And Altair is connected to Pluto. Okay. So Altair is connected, the courage to act even without certainty, and the willingness to begin before every answer is known. Andromeda holds the adaptability for what hasn't yet formed, asking the dream to be held lightly so the energy can find its own way to manifestation. Together, bravery and openness make room for the new to arrive on its own terms. So when we're looking at how the energy is influenced galactically, it's actually quite fitting, because Pluto is being influenced by Altair. This is like very much has a warrior like endurance type quality. People that have galactic connections here are very good at leadership, taking important roles of assisting, dealing with hardship or challenges. So this is kind of a warrior like energy that it moves forward despite the unknown, which we talked about, that Pluto energy and being an energy that comes up with the creative solutions despite the obstacles. Okay. And then Andromeda is connected to Chiron. Now, Andromeda was also listed as one of the three important galactic energies influencing this collective time of transformation and disclosure we're going through. And their role is essentially in helping us integrate, helping us navigate really the chaos at first, because Andromeda is very gifted with that, but also then being able to alchemize or to bring the magic and the human together. Like, what is the world going to look like when we're all kind of like stepping forward, or when a lot of us are embodying our magical essence and self? Like, that might be like a little wild. And wow, it sounds exciting and fun. There might be some adapting and learning how to navigate that sort of reality. Okay, so that was the other piece. Sorry, that was slightly out of order, but it is what it is. Not being perfect, right? Okay. All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope that it helped you see kind of what the collective energy is for the next week. till July 4th. And then especially the Uranus and Mars, that aspect will continue, I believe they said, till like almost mid-July. So that one's not going to go away anytime soon. So pay especially attention to that. And if you wanted to know more about how this influences you personally, or something sparked interest and you want to know more about your own astrology, you can always reach out, let me know, and book a session. Generally speaking, you can look at where these energies are in your own chart to understand what area of your life may be especially highlighted. So, for example, for me, all this energy in Gemini is actually in my eighth house, which is ruled by Pluto, death, rebirth, transformation, the void. So I know as a channeler, I've also, my intuition has been heightened a lot lately, a lot of information coming through. And I know a lot for me has been unwinding the stories that I tell myself and how I want to move forward and live my life and transform and accept this version of myself that is letting go of some of the outdated stories. So I'm absolutely feeling this energy pretty strongly. So you can look at where Gemini is in your chart and Uranus. Look at where Jupiter, what house is Leo in. Like looking at these things in your chart can help give information. And if you're new to that, like I said, and you want to know more, you can always reach out, or I can do a session with you where we can kind of explore it deeper. Okay, I think that's a lot of meaty information for now. Thank you so much for everyone who watches this. And I'd love if you would leave me a comment how you're feeling, or share with me how what you've noticed this energy playing out in your own life, or maybe if you want to learn more about these galactic races, leave me a comment, let me know, and I will talk to you later. Bye.